In early 2026, the entire Middle East transitioned from a period of managed proxy competitions into direct, high-intensity state-on-state warfare. This shift was driven by a direct military confrontation between a coalition led by the United States and Israel and the Islamic Republic of Iran. This kinetic escalation detonated against a backdrop of institutional collapse, specifically the failure of unified governance in Libya, Syria, and Yemen. To survive technological overmatch, state and non-state actors began deliberately decentralizing their military command structures. Simultaneously, global powers pivoted away from democratic state-building in favor of transactional diplomacy. This regional fragmentation created an immediate systemic shock to global energy and food supply chains. The simultaneous collapse of military hierarchies, centralized state governance, and regional energy security structurally redefines global macroeconomic risk in 2026. In late February 2026, U.S. and Israeli forces launched preemptive strikes targeting Iranian nuclear sites and internal security infrastructure. The coalition air campaign focused heavily on facilities producing short and medium-range ballistic missiles, specifically the Fath 360 and Fateh 110. Tensions reached a breaking point on March 22 when the United States threatened to destroy Iranian power plants unless the Strait of Hormuz was reopened within 48 hours. Facing coalition aerial superiority, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, ordered security personnel to abandon centralized headquarters. Command shifted to improvised mobile facilities. This dispersed node structure makes the command apparatus significantly harder to target through traditional aerial reconnaissance and precision strikes. A parallel military evolution occurred in Lebanon following the degradation of Hezbollah's leadership in 2024. IRGC officers restructured Hezbollah into a flat system, reorganizing fighters into smaller, compartmentalized units with limited operational knowledge. This is the mosaic defense doctrine, a strategy designed to preserve combat effectiveness under sustained pressure by removing centralized points of failure. These intentionally flattened networks prove resilient against traditional decapitation strategies, ensuring the conflict remains protracted. While military command flattened by design, political governance in North Africa underwent a parallel unintentional decentralization. Libya remains divided between the Western Government of National Unity and the Eastern Libyan Arab Armed Forces. Unlike the tactical military fragmentation seen in Iran, Libya's political fracture is a direct symptom of total state failure. This institutional vacuum allows localized militias to operate as independent fiefdoms with near-total impunity. The resulting human rights environment is defined by systematic enforced disappearances and arbitrary detentions. The continuous discovery of mass graves, including those in Tarhuna, stands as evidence of unchecked militia violence. These fragmented groups exercise nominal control over detention centers, where hundreds of thousands of migrants face inhumane conditions. When state power devolves into localized militia control, traditional normative governance and comprehensive peace processes cease to function. Faced with this intractable fragmentation, international actors have largely abandoned comprehensive democratic state-building efforts. Global powers have instead operationalized transactional realism as their primary diplomatic strategy. The U.S.'s energy-first policy in Libya under the Trump administration provides the clearest example of this shift. U.S. mediation focused on unifying the development chapter of the Libyan national budget to curb parallel spending. The objective was to stabilize the environment for American and European oil majors. In early 2026, the Tripoli government signed $20 billion in development agreements with ConocoPhillips and Total Energies, even as the UN electoral roadmap remained stalled. Transactional realism secures immediate economic interests for foreign investors, but it risks entrenching new authoritarianisms while ignoring the root grievances of regional instability. The region's structural volatility cannot be contained. Its logistics are essential to the global economy. The region accounts for roughly 25% of globally traded oil and 20% of global liquefied natural gas, or LNG. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz and drone strikes on Qatari facilities effectively took 20% of global LNG export capacity offline in early 2026. This chart traces the ripple effects. As shown in the first column, energy disruptions immediately bottleneck global fertilizer production, dropping consumer purchasing power. Gulf states provide over 30% of global seaborne urea fertilizer exports, tying worldwide agricultural output directly to Middle Eastern energy stability. The resulting fertilizer shortage creates immediate, mathematically predictable agricultural yield shortfalls worldwide. The third column illustrates the outcome. Soaring bread prices drive intensified social and political tensions, leading to internal instability. This creates severe macroeconomic strain on bread subsidies in vulnerable, import-dependent nations like Egypt and Pakistan. These rising costs worsen social unrest risks in fragile nations, including Ethiopia, Somalia, and Sudan. The kinetic strikes of 2026 act as a systemic shockwave, destabilizing the global energy and food architecture far beyond the Middle East. The 2026 reconfiguration exposes the extreme vulnerability of a globally integrated economy, severing at key choke points as it remains tethered to a deeply fragmented region. The evolution of warfare towards decentralized networks ensures that future regional conflicts will be protracted and unwinnable by traditional means. The diplomatic shift towards transactional realism indicates a global acceptance of permanent crisis management over conflict resolution. In this model, securing immediate energy flows costs massive human displacement and normalizes militia-led governance. In 2026, structural fragmentation of militaries, of states, and of supply chains becomes the permanent defining mechanic of global geopolitical risk.